Sir, we're looking for the nearest landing point. Our helicopter has lost 2 engines. Mayday! 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 Jetfly 457.
Do you know who I am? I am Mr. Anderson's daughter. I insist you find a way to save us immediately!
Poof! Money isn't gonna save you now. The best thing to do is be quiet and pray.
No, it can't end like this. I tried raising my phone to pick up a signal, but Blade hit my hand, causing it to tumble onto the ground and the screen to shatter.
Stop this nonsense!
Nonsense? Actually, I'm trying to get us out of this mess, but all you're doing is just sitting there. Before I could finish my sentence, Blade blurted out,
"For God's sake!"
then jumped out of the pilot's seat, put on a large backpack, and turned to me.
"Get ready to parachute out."
What? Are you serious? No way I'm gonna do that.
That's the only way out. Suit yourself, else I don't mind jumping alone either.
Oh my God, he's a jerk. Fine. But first thing I'm doing when I get home is getting Daddy to fire him. Then Blade moved us towards the door. Ah! The sky was so vast and perilous. I took a deep breath. It's about time. Am I still alive? I turned to my left and saw Blade lying right next to me. Oh, from this angle, he looks kinda handsome. But wait, why wasn't he moving? Oh my God, is he? I sat up and shook him vigorously. You can't be dead! You must get me out of here! You haven't given me a chance to fire you!
Shush. Turn the volume down, will ya?
Oh God, you're awake. Take me home at once. I want to go home, not this disgusting place.
You're the one who insisted on flying with me in the first place.
That's not how you talk to your mistress. He rolled his eyes at me and muttered under his breath.
Oof, please. You're not my mistress. You're just my employee's spoiled daughter.
Can you believe the cheek of that man? Ugh! Anyway, I'm Maya, the beloved daughter of the CEO of AnderX Corp. And that jerk is Blade, my father's private pilot. I don't know why my father likes him so much. He's sarcastic, abrupt, and crude. The only reason I was flying with him in the first place was because he was going to pick my father up from a meeting in Rio, which coincidentally, I was in need of a weekend getaway under the hot tropical sunlight. So, 2 birds, 1 stone, huh? But, yeah, this is what I got instead. Oops, how embarrassing. Why was my stomach growling like this? Hearing that, Blade immediately opened his backpack and took out a sandwich. I reached out to take it, but what? He stuffed it straight into his mouth and grinned at me as he chewed. Fine, he could keep his lame food. At that moment, we heard a loud noise in the sky. We looked up and saw a rescue helicopter. I jumped up and down, waved, and shouted to catch its attention. After a while, I turned around and saw Blade doing something weird. What on earth are you doing? Come here and shout. Now is not the time to build tiny stick houses or whatever, mister. But he just rolled his eyes and carried on. How dare he? I jumped in and kicked hard at the pile of twigs he was stacking. Geez, he sure looked annoyed. Why are you looking at me like that? It's you who keeps doing all that nonsense this time.
Your shouts are useless here. This fire was our only chance of sending that helicopter a distress signal. And you just ruined it.
Then he stormed off, leaving me all alone. So the rescue helicopter flew away, and our survival journey continued, unfortunately. Hey, slow down. How long does it take to this stupid brook? And guess what he said to me? We only have 1 bottle of water, so if you don't want to die of thirst, I suggest you shut up and keep walking. Blah, blah, blah. But we went on and on and on, and still couldn't find the brook, even though the sun had already set. So we had to create a makeshift tent with our parachute, and the 2 of us gradually fell asleep. Early the next morning, a raging hunger awakened me. Blade was still sleeping, so I crept past him and rummaged in his backpack. Oh, the jerk was hiding an apple from me. I was about to take a big bite out of it, when suddenly a hand snatched it away. Ugh! I can't stand it anymore. It's just an apple. Why do you... Huh? When did Blade get so hairy? Wait, was it a monkey? Ah! I screamed loudly, and the monkey ran away with my breakfast. Blade rushed over to me.
You know what, Princess? That was the only food we had left.
Then he pulled my hand to chase after the monkey. And guess what we found? OMG. There was our helicopter next to the brook. We were so happy that we ran over and hugged each other tightly. We're alive! And we have enough food for a week in there. Oh, wait. He was still on my blacklist, so I immediately pushed him away. He scratched his head, and his face turned as red as a tomato. I suppose he was kinda adorable sometimes, but I was still mad at him. As the days passed by, we started running low on food. Blade remained persistent and continued trying to make contact on the radio. Finally, he detected the frequency and... Eek! We got a reply! They told us to wait a little longer, and the next morning a helicopter would come to the rescue. At last! This was our last night in this awful place. Blade was so cold and unpleasant at the beginning, but over the past difficult days, he seemed to have opened his heart and really showed his warm side. We actually spent hours chatting that night, and I listened to him talk about his tough childhood in the orphanage and his dream of flying freely in the sky. That's great! I wish I had a dream to dedicate myself to.
Oh, you don't have any?
Actually, yes. Since my mom passed away, my father started working even more. I longed to have my happy family life back, but it wasn't to be. Maybe I will get that again, but this time with my fiancé.
Really? If so, he's a lucky guy.
Huh? What did Blade mean by that? I suddenly felt my face flush. Honestly, speaking of my fiancé, I just found out by accident that the luxurious life he claims to have, all the houses and cars, are all fake. I'm a bit confused, but I haven't asked him directly yet. Just like that, our stories continued until dawn. Thank goodness, I'm finally out of that awful forest.
Maya, are you okay? I've been worried sick about you. Chase?
Oh, you two know each other? Chase is my fiancé.
It's a long story, but I'll tell you later. Now let's get going.
That night, we stayed at a hotel before heading home. And oh boy, it sure was good to be pampered again. I was sitting in our suite room, picking up my room service order and waiting for Chase. What was taking him so long? Feeling down being all alone, I found myself leaving the room and looking for Blade. As I was walking along the hallway, I accidentally bumped into a room service guy and caused him to drop his walkie-talkie.
Watch it. Don't mess it up.
That sounded a lot like... Nah, it can't be.
What made my mistress come all the way over to my room?
About the things I told you yesterday regarding Chase, I didn't realize you knew him, so please keep it a secret.
Maya, actually, I think you need to know this.
Suddenly, his phone rang, so he answered it. The conversation sounded serious. Then he said to me,
"The airport cameras have been checked and someone tampered with the helicopter. They're going to send me the footage."
We both watched the video and saw a strange young man approaching it before takeoff. Hang on. I recognized that man. He's the room service guy I just bumped into. Uh-oh. I had a bad feeling about this.
We need to find him now.
Huh? What was that smell? Ew, it was irritating my nose. I asked Blade if he smelt it too, and he just shrugged and said all he could smell was my perfume. Then there was a clicking sound at the door. We rushed over to it, but it was jammed. Blade called the front desk, but no one answered. So I took the phone off him and called my room, in the hope Chase would pick up. But he didn't. I started coughing. There was definitely a weird smell in here, So I rushed into the bathroom, soaked the towels, and passed one to Blade to cover his mouth and nose with. Then I grabbed the vase off the table and threw it at the window. Smash!
Wow, nice shot.
Luckily, we were only on the second floor, so with Blade's help, we easily jumped onto the ground. Then we rushed to reception to verify the identity of the suspicious hotel staff, and ran straight into Chase.
Are you two okay? What's with the gas leak?
Chase worriedly asked us. Then he turned to scold the hotel manager. Huh? How did he know about that? Blade and I shared confused looks, but neither of us said anything out loud. It was horrible, Chase. I was so scared. Please stay with me. I don't want to be alone. I pretended to cry as I leaned on his shoulder. Then, while Chase was talking to reception, I turned to Blade and asked him to call the police to find the suspicious hotel staff instead. That afternoon, before checking out, the police called to say they'd arrested the suspect. So, all three of us went to the station. As soon as the police led the room service guy out, he immediately pointed at Chase and said,
He's the one who hired me.
Chase gave a shocked look, denied the accusation, and threatened to sue him if he continued with this slander.
Stop the act, Chase.
I checked, and I know you used my card to send huge payments to the same person, that person. All I did was love you with all of my heart. So why did you try and harm me?
No, I never wanted you to be hurt. It's just, Why were you always with him?
What do you mean?
I hate you, Blade. Why do you always stick your nose in my business and ruin everything? I'd almost reached my goal. Then you appeared and messed everything up.
So, it turns out Chase was targeting Blade, not me. The two of them grew up in the same orphanage. As a kid, Chase was a crafty boy who took delight in deceiving others for fun, so the nuns assigned Blade the task of watching over him. Blade just wanted the best for his friend, so he followed Chase's every step and tried to stop him from all his petty theft plans and love scams. So Chase grew to despise Blade, and when they both left the orphanage, they lost contact with each other. Coincidentally, one time, when Chase arrived at my home to pick me up, he saw Blade. So fearing that he'd expose his underprivileged background, he planned to get rid of him forever. I don't care how much money you have. I already know your flashy wealth was all made up, but I thought you had your reasons and weren't comfortable enough to tell the truth. But it didn't matter, as I still wanted to be with you. However, what I find unacceptable is your deceitful and cruel nature. I never want to see you ever again. I burst into tears, and Blade comforted me. As for Chase, he was still begging for me to forgive him as the police dragged him away. It took me a long time to come to terms with what Chase did, but luckily for me, I have Blade to look out for me. Yep, that's right. We're now an official couple. Finally, I have the kind, loyal, action man boyfriend of my dreams. We sure do make a good couple, don't you think? I was enjoying my perfect Friday night watching my favorite YouTuber's latest video when it got interrupted by a phone call. Tessa, the cops arrested me! Dress as my mom and come bail me out!
That was Katie, my annoying cousin. She's the biggest troublemaker I know, which is why my aunt sent her to live at my house, in hopes that we could help change her attitude. Poof! So now I have to sneak into Mom's closet and borrow some of her clothes. How do I apply makeup to look older? Ugh, that'll have to do. So, officer, what trouble's she in this time? She vandalized a car.
Not me, Mom. Blame the dumb car that got in my way.
Jeez, if I were really Katie's mom, I would let her rot in jail until she came to her senses. I was about to lead Katie out of there when a boy grinned at me and said, "Madam, can you bail me out too?" Sorry, but no. You're not my problem. Okay, well, then can you at least give me your number? I spotted Katie frown at him, then she pulled on my arm.
Let's go home, Mom.
Katie, can't you grow up? I can't cover for you forever.
You'll do it.
else I may just accidentally slip out your little secrets to your parents. Ugh, that threat sure is getting old. Okay, so I didn't bail out Katie out of choice. You see, she has something over me. The thing is, I have a passion for baking, but my parents think this is a waste of time. I knew they'd never knowingly pay for my cooking classes, so I told them I needed money to join an extra study class. I know it sounds bad, but I did apply to work at a coffee shop bakery so I could pay them back while also gaining experience. But then Katie discovered my secret, and now she's using it to control me. Then, just when I thought things couldn't get any worse, I arrived home to find my parents waiting up for me in the living room. Tessa, you were out partying, weren't you? Why do you keep on disobeying us? And is that my dress? Why can't you be more like Katie? She's really improved her grades. I turned around to see that Katie was nowhere to be seen. She must have quickly escaped through the back door to her room. What a minx! But my parents still believed she's the golden girl. Poof! It's rubbish, of course. The good grades she brought home were all by cheating. If it weren't for Katie knowing my secret, I so would have exposed her by now. Actually, besides Katie, there's also Celia, my best friend, who also knows about this. She may be a hothead, but when it comes to my secrets, I know her lips are sealed. Hey, Tessa, you have to see this. Celia waved her phone in my face. Hang on, that was BitKit Bakes, my all-time fave YouTube channel. I'd been following this guy for ages. He was so talented. Oh, and he always wore this cute kitty mask. Look at his hands. They're so beautiful. And how I adore his warm voice. I bet he's really handsome, too. Celia is so smitten with boys. Ugh, it's Katie again. She's left her lipstick in the canteen and I've got to fetch it for her and take it to some cafe in town. This is ridiculous. I'm sure she could survive without her stupid lipstick for one afternoon. I walked into the cafe and spotted Katie sitting with two boys. Wasn't that the boy from the cop station? Turns out he's called Max, and he's Katie's new boyfriend. And the other guy is Cody. Both of them are college students. Hey, Tessa, you should stay for cake. Seeing as I was here, I may as well have something sweet, right? So I ignored Katie's eye rolls in my direction and joined them. The waiter brought some chocolate fudge cake over and, yum, it sure looked good. I took a forkful of it and, something wasn't quite right. This cake could use some salted caramel. Poof, a cake needs to keep its original flavor. If you add that to it, it'll be far too sweet. Oh, how rude. I was only voicing my opinion. Right at that moment, Celia phoned me. I just answered when she started screaming so loudly, and I had to hold my phone away from my ear. Tessa, Tessa, Tessa! Celia, is everything okay? I know how to impress the BitKit Bakes guy. We must make him a DIY gift. A chocolate resin phone case. What do you think? Am I a genius or what? I noticed Max, Cody, and Katie all giving me strange looks. Jeez, this was so embarrassing. So I quickly hung up on Celia, then made my excuse to leave. Ugh. I liked it better when only I knew about BitKit Bakes. I watch his videos every day and daydream about baking with him. But now Celia's obsession over him was kinda tiring me out. She texted me nonstop to ramble about him and dragged me into her silly fan projects. She even joined this online fan club of his, and they all talked about how fit he looks, how handsome he must be. Hello, does anyone here really care about cooking? At least work meant I had a break from Celia's mithering. Ugh, what was he doing here? He bought 2 cups of coffee, then asked to borrow my phone because his was out of battery. I reluctantly handed over my precious phone, but then I heard a ringtone. Max excitedly took his ringing phone out of his pocket and said, "So now I have your phone number, cute girl." What? The cheek of him! I'm his girlfriend's cousin. Has he no shame? I gave him a dumbfounded look, but he just smiled, handed back my phone, and winked at me. "I saved my number in your phone. Give me a call." Then he left. He'd just reached the door when I snapped out of my daze. The phone case. Our chocolate phone case. Why did he have it? It's one of a kind, and we've already sent it to BitKit Bakes. Didn't we? I was about to run after him to clear this up when Katie appeared. "Max, why did it take you so long to buy coffee?" Then she stormed over to the counter as soon as she spotted me. "Stay away from my boyfriend, or your secret goes parent public, okay?" Katie glared at me and dragged Max away. Even though they were leaving, I could still hear her voice. "Don't talk to that girl. I don't like her." Huh? What on earth? Who wants her boyfriend anyway? How irritating. One evening, I was lying on the couch and thinking about whether Max could really be BitKit Bakes when Celia excitedly ran over. "I have our mysterious idol's phone number!" Oh no, here we go again. Celia was way too excitable sometimes. "So, a secret source that's in the fandom sent it to me. I wonder if this is his real number." "You really believe that's BitKit's number?" "Let's just give it a try. We have nothing to lose." It would be a lie to say I wasn't any tiny bit curious. So I entered the phone number, and as soon as I pressed the call, Max's name appeared on the screen. Huh? What's this? I quickly hung up and turned to tell Celia that it was just a fake number. If Max is really our idol, then I don't want Celia getting muddled up with my crazy cousin's love life. Celia just shrugged and said, "It's okay. I'll find another way." Then she did that sticking tongue-out concentration face of hers as she fiddled around on her phone. The next day, I got home from my shift feeling a little worn out, but Celia still wouldn't give me a break. She came right over and dragged me out somewhere. "Where are we going?" I asked, but Celia just kept silent. Then we stopped in front of a small white house. At that point, Celia said, "My source says this is BitKit Bakes' home. We're about to meet the most amazing guy ever." Before I could react, Celia ran to ring the doorbell. And as soon as the door opened, standing in front of us were Max and Katie. "Tessa, why are you here?" "You know him?" This is Max, Katie's boyfriend. We were on our way to a friend's party, but it seems like we have the wrong house. Sorry for bothering you." Then I hurriedly pulled Celia's hand to leave. But Max stopped us. "Oh yeah? Then you must have come to the right house. We're having a party, so join us." I quickly waved my hand to refuse, but Celia immediately said, "That would be great." And then, ignoring Katie's death stares, pulled me inside. So turns out Max lives here with Cody and this guy called Trevor. I'll find out which of these three boys is our idol. Wait for it. Celia made up some excuse about loving their decor and wanting to see the rest of it for inspiration. Trevor, who seemed to like her, jumped at the opportunity to show her around. Meanwhile, I wandered into the kitchen to try and solve the BitKit Bakes mystery myself. Max was in there making himself an egg sandwich, but, oh my god, had he never touched a whisk before? He's so clumsy. I don't think there would be much of the egg left in the bowl after he's done whisking. The kitchen counter was full of food for the party, so I decided to give them a hand. Let's see. I spotted a bowl of cookie mixture, which looked like it could use some special ingredient, so I reached for the jar of sugar. And as expected, a hand stopped me. But, Cody? What are you doing? You use brown sugar for cookies, not white. You don't want to end up with a load of air pockets, do you? Yes, of course I knew that. And I also knew BitKit had once said those exact words in one of his previous clips. So, the anonymous idol is Cody? But Max's phone case was the one we sent to our idol, and the idol's phone number that Celia found was also Max's. This was so confusing, and I needed answers, so I asked Max to go outside with me. "You aren't BitKit Bakes, right? Why do you have that phone case?" "Oh, so you figured it out? Yeah, I know you sent it to Cody, so I intercepted it. I'm also the anonymous fan who gave Celia this address. It's fate, baby. You and me are meant to be together." Then he lunged towards me with outstretched arms. Oh my god, Did he have tentacle arms or something? I couldn't escape from his grip. Then who should appear but, yep, Katie. She charged over, then pushed me, falling to the ground. Cody appeared and tried to stop the fight, but Katie's flailing arms knocked into him and caused his wrist to brush against the hot barbecue grill. I quickly went to check on Cody, but Katie just screamed out, "I hate you!" then ran off with a shameless Max in hot pursuit. We then went to Cody's room to get the first aid box. Hang on, I recognize that mask. Don't worry, I'll keep your secret. But maybe this arm shouldn't be on screen for a while. Celia has, the best detective sense. Yeah, I guess. I'm thinking maybe a cute girl like you should wear the cat mask for the next few videos. What do you think? Are you sure? Your fans might speculate that the girl would have some kind of special relationship with you. Gosh, what am I saying? Wake up, Tessa. I should go. Right, there's something important waiting for me to handle at home. What a messy day. I couldn't carry on being under Katie's control any longer. I needed to confess all to my parents before she told them. Only, when I walked through the door, I heard these weird sounds coming from the living room. It was Katie bawling her eyes out on the couch. I ignored her and was about to go upstairs, but suddenly, she ran over to me and hugged me. Tessa, I'm so sorry for pushing you. I never meant for anyone to get hurt. I just really love Max, and it breaks my heart knowing he's such a womanizer. It's okay, but you seriously deserve way better than that jerk. So Katie and I made up, and she also promised that she wouldn't blab my secret to my parents. But I want to tell them the truth. I mean, I can't lie to them forever, right? And when they see how much baking means to me, they'll support me, right? Hey guys, so I entered a baking contest and invited my parents along. And guess what? I won the Best Newcomer prize. Eek! Better still, my parents congratulated me and told me that if I loved baking this much, I should follow my dreams. Oh, and I did use the prize money from the contest to pay them back. Cody's been a massive help. He's given me some great tips and, actually, we've started dating. It's early days, but being with him makes me feel as happy as eating freshly made cookies. And as for Celia, well, she's still pretty convinced that Trevor's her idol. One day I'll introduce her to the real BitKit Bakes. Soon. Only 3 more steps to go. 3, 2, 1. Sophie! Oh man. Busted. Okay. So, it's because today at school I persuaded a friend to test out my skateboard. But come on. How was I supposed to know she'd end up breaking her leg? Oops. I called your dad, and he's arranging your school transfer. What? Ugh! Is anyone else's mom way over the top like mine? My dad's away on business trips a lot, so the majority of the time it's just me and her. But we're basically chalk and cheese. Everything I do seems to annoy her. Skateboarding or partying, even breathing, I suppose. Geez, doesn't she remember what being young was like? Or was she born this boring? Then whenever something happens, she always rings Dad and snitches on me. Ugh! Speak of the devil. Oh, hi, Dad. Sophie, it's all sorted. You're transferring to Kings West High School next week. But Dad, I don't want to move schools. You brought it onto yourself, young lady. I have an old friend teaching there. I've told her to keep an eye on you. So, you better behave yourself. Poof! He thought he could scare me? As if. I ain't afraid of some cranky teacher. So comes my first day at this place, and this teacher, friend of Dad's, Miss Janet Clark, wouldn't quit gawping at me, and she kept on calling on me to answer her stupid questions. No thanks. Ugh. I needed to liven this boring class up. So when the teacher briefly left the room, I immediately put Vaseline on the cap of her water bottle. It was so funny watching her failing to open it and ended up with a smudged hand. Then when she asked the class who was responsible, I grinned as I raised my hand. Another time, I put an air horn on her chair leg, so as soon as she sat down, there was an ear-splitting sound. It's as if she just farted. Impressive. How do you think up such crazy pranks? You're even better than me. Huh? I froze for a few seconds. Who was this handsome boy, and why hadn't I noticed him before? Turns out he's Dylan, and like me, he's prone to getting in trouble. We were talking to each other passionately when I felt a hand pat on my shoulder. It was Miss Clark. She led me into the corridor, and I expected her to shout at me, but surprisingly, she didn't get angry or anything. Instead, she asked if I was having a hard time. How odd. The next morning, I was about to enter the classroom when some popular girls stopped me. Who are you trying to impress? Better know your place, newbie. She's just another plain Jane. What are you worried about, Rebecca? There's no way Dylan likes her. Stay away from Dylan, else. Excuse me? This snooty girl just messed with the wrong person. And that's how we ended up pulling each other's hair until I managed to get a hold of her wrist and was about to give her a taste of my shoulder throw. Then Miss Clark intervened. The so-called Queen Bee quickly fled the scene. Then Miss Clark led me out to the schoolyard for a walk. She told me that this girl Rebecca was Dylan's ex-girlfriend. Oh, how pathetic. Our Becky has a crush on her ex. Then Miss Clark continued asking if I really felt okay, as she thought there must be some reason behind my rebellious behaviors. Just like that, my emotions got the better of me, and I blurted out how I hated moving schools, and the only good thing about this new place was Dylan. And could you believe it? She actually gave me some flirting tips to impress Dylan, and also told me to text her if I had any problems. Maybe I'd been wrong about Miss Clark. She was actually pretty cool, and I started talking to her pretty often. Then one day, I arrived home to see my bedroom door was ajar. I peeked inside and spotted Mom on my bed, iPad in hand, reading my diary on it. Mom, seriously, can you please give me some privacy? Sophie, what's this about a downhill skating event? Do you want to die? It's none of your business. Mom was so controlling. She wouldn't let me wear the clothes I wanted or even fangirl over the idols I liked. Feeling so wronged, I called Miss Clark to let out this frustration. She was so understanding, saying how adults sometimes make mistakes too, and my mom was in the wrong this time. Then said I should sign up for the skating event, as I was young and therefore I should fight for my dreams. I wish Mom understood me like you do. You must be a wonderful mom. Your children are so lucky. She fell silent for a moment, then told me that as much as she wanted to be a mother, but she was divorced and had no kid. Adopt me then. I'd rather be your daughter than my mom's. Then she gently smiled at me. Thanks to Miss Clark, my stuffy home life felt a bit better. While at school, thanks to her matchmaking, Dylan and I were now a couple. Yay! Rebecca thus gave me dirty looks all the time in class. But tough luck, sweetie. And our 1-month anniversary finally arrived. Today, Dylan's taking me out for sushi. Yum! But I'd only had one bite when a familiar figure rushed over. My mom glared at Dylan, then dragged me home. Don't you ever talk to that awful boy again. You hear me? That kind of troublemaker is nothing but a bad influence. Cut ties with him ASAP. This was insane. But thankfully, Dylan overlooked my mom's craziness, and we continued dating secretly. But then one morning, I texted and called Dylan a bunch of times, but there was no reply. Was something wrong? We just had the best date last night, but now, nothing. I rushed to school, searching for Dylan, worriedly asking everyone if they had heard anything from him, when Rebecca suddenly approached me. Dylan could have died thanks to you. Seems like you and your crazy mom are cut from the same cloth. Okay, so turns out that after Dylan dropped me off after our date, he ended up in an accident. Luckily, he wasn't hurt too bad, but he was convinced someone had tampered with his brakes while he made a quick stop at the 7-Eleven near my house. And, yep, that must have been my mom. since he also saw her leave the store. How could she do that? She's ruined my life! Dylan broke up with me right after that. No way was I staying anywhere near her. So I packed a bag and fled to the one place I felt safe. And here I am, at Miss Clark's house. Peace and quiet at last. Oh, what's this? She looked so pretty when she was young. I turned a few more pages, then... Huh? Why does this man resemble my dad? Then I saw a scribble. Janet, Bob, forever. Huh? It was my dad. So she wasn't just his old friend. She was his ex. A thought suddenly popped into my head. Could she be my real mom? Maybe Dad let me transfer to her school so we would be reunited. Oof, forgive me. I must have watched too many TV dramas. But honestly, how amazing would it be if she was my mom? My real mom was such a nightmare. I went to the kitchen to see Miss Clark preparing dinner and couldn't help but blurt out, "Mom?" She got extremely emotional, then pulled me in for a warm embrace and called me her daughter. Suddenly the phone rang. It was Dad. He told me to go home immediately or he'd stop my allowance. Miss Clark told me not to be worried and just go, but I had to show some attitude to let Mom know that I wouldn't back down easily. So from then on, as soon as I was home, I just went straight to my room without even looking at Mom. And also, every time she said anything annoying, I kept replying with, "What's wrong with you? My teacher told me to do so. Stop overreacting." And you know what happened next? Yep, Mom called Dad. Again. I reported it to Miss Clark, as usual, and she told me that if I wanted Dad to stop listening to Mom, I had to tell him she was having an affair. What? Wasn't that too much? Did Miss Clark still have feelings for my dad? Was she only being nice to me so she could worm her way back into his life? After that, I didn't talk to her as much and tried to avoid her at school, just to be safe. But then one day after lessons, I found her waiting by my locker looking all glum. She told me it was her birthday, but like every other time, she had no one to celebrate it with. If only you'd be by my side this year, my daughter. So I agreed to go for dinner with her, and then for convenience, I made reservations at Mom's restaurant. Maybe this wasn't such a bad idea. I mean, Miss Clark might be able to talk some sense into her, right? They could even actually get on. But as soon as Miss Clark walked in, Mom's face dropped. "Janet, what are you doing here? Our restaurant is fully booked. Please leave." The two argued back and forth for a while, and I couldn't stand it anymore. "Why are you so rude, Mom? She's my teacher." Mom then stormed off in a rage while Miss Clark and I just ignored her and carried on with our birthday plan. But as she was eating the baked lobster dish, she suddenly turned a funny color, then threw up. We took her to the emergency room, and the doctor said this was down to Ipecac, a vomit-inducing medicine. Who else is to blame? How could my mom be so cruel? "Sophie, I'm fine. I'm sure your mom meant no harm." Mom looked furious and rushed over to Miss Clark. I had to pull her back, and then I told her she didn't deserve to be my mom. She was speechless and burst into tears. But it was too late. I announced I would move out of the house and stay with Miss Clark instead. So I went home and packed straight away, then left. But Mom wouldn't quit following me that whole week. It's super annoying. So Miss Clark came up with a new idea. We should move somewhere where Mom wouldn't find us. Huh? Was it a bit too sudden? But this was the only way I could be rid of my freaky mom. So we moved to a little house in the suburbs. Miss Clark took good care of me and completed all of my school transfer procedures. The first few days were so much fun. We had a really good time together. However, I started to notice odd little things, such as she fed me pizza every single day. Pizza and pizza only. She also insisted I wear these worn old clothes and called me Dumpling? What a weird nickname. At first I just wondered why she did that, but then it started to bug me, so I asked her to stop. To my surprise, she started crying. Looks like I was stuck with this awful nickname. Things at home seemed off, and the new school was just as terrible. From the very first day, I again became the target of the mean girls. But one day, as they tried to stop me passing them, one of their faces suddenly turned pale. Huh? Isn't that Alice's gross old shirt? Alice who? You know, Alice. The dumpling. She wore the exact same shirt with the word smart printed on it. I remember this vividly as I used to laugh at how brazen of that stupid girl for wearing a shirt saying smart. My God, even the trace of my cigarette butt on its flap? It's still there? But she's dead. Then they all looked at each other in fear and ran away. Huh? Chills ran down my spine. I didn't know who this Alice was, and I didn't want to. The only thing I knew was I needed to get out of this place immediately. So I rushed home to pack my things before Miss Clark got back from work, but it was too late. Dumpling? Where are you going? You have to stay with Mommy. Then she quickly locked the door, dragged me inside, and started acting like a psychopath. Eat up, my dumpling. Why are you so sad? It's seafood pizza, your favorite. I'm sorry I didn't let you eat it before, but now you can have it all you want. I'll buy this for you every day. Panicked, I didn't know how to hold out against this insane woman when someone kicked in the door. It was Dylan, followed by my parents. Sophie, here you are, our baby. Oh, thank good God. I pushed Janet away and ran straight to them. But how did they find me? I decided to look into the case of my broken brake again, as a few days after the accident, I came back to that 7-Eleven, and a cashier asked me if my mum came home safely the other day, as she saw a woman claiming to be my mum struggling by my motorcycle, saying there's some problem with it. That sounded way too fishy, so I asked to check the store's CCTV footage. And the culprit was not your mum as we all thought, but her. Huh? Why? She helped matchmake us. Why would she want to harm you? I don't know. Maybe she wants everyone to misunderstand and blame your mother. Luckily, our phones have still been sharing locations ever since we were dating, so I found you in time. Many thanks to you, Dylan. My father angrily looked at Miss Clark. Janet, things between us ended decades ago. Please get a hold of yourself. How ridiculous! Who do you think you are to assume this is about you? Dumpling is mine. She's my daughter, and she's staying with me. She broke down crying, and then admitted it all, from damaging Dylan's motorbike to putting Emenic medicine in her own food to fool people. I've tried everything. I can't believe it. How could a gentle person like her do such things? After the truth was revealed, everything gradually got back on track. I went back home, but still, my mind constantly wandering back to her and why she did it. Until one day, I came home from school and was surprised to see that woman sitting on the couch in our living room having a coffee with Mom. To be honest, I was a bit frightened at the sight of her, but she didn't look as unstable as before. It turned out that she'd just returned from a psychotherapy unit. She'd been suffering from her mental health since Alice, her daughter, passed away. Alice, aka Dumpling, was a stubborn teenager, just like me, and due to the strictness of her mum, she once left home in a temper and never came back, as she got in a terrible car accident that night. So, as soon as Miss Clark saw me, she subconsciously wanted to turn me into her daughter to fix her past mistakes. Sophie, I'm truly sorry for the pain I caused you. I let my grief consume me, and as a result, I refused to accept how dark a place I was in. Teenagers are complicated, but please try to be more open-minded and show them love the correct way. Sophie's a good kid, and I don't want you making the same mistakes I did. And so everything ended in a good way. Although my mom and I still sometimes argue, now we both know how to control it. I also learned to share things with her so that we became closer. And now, when she calls Dad, it's no longer to snitch on me, but it's to talk about how our days went. By the way, I don't have to go on secret dates anymore either. There's my Prince Charming. How many times have I told him not to rev up the engine? Hello, it's me, Jenny, the maid in disguise. If you're wondering why a rich girl like me chose to be a maid, then it sounds like you haven't watched the dramatic episode 1 all about my turbulent time in this house. You should totally go and check it out. I had my dream acting role to get, so what better way to understand the mindset of a maid than to live the life of one? So that's why I'm here, working at the director Lucas's house. Unfortunately, it wasn't all smooth sailing, as his spiteful daughter Lily found out my secret, and now she was intent on making my life a misery. Jessie, Miss Hemingworth is asking for her tea. You see, I was already having 1,000 things to take care of since tonight the director's throwing a party for the movie's crew. And still, Lily wouldn't give me a break with all of her annoying orders. As soon as I put the tea tray down in front of Lily, she looked at me disapprovingly, then took the dish towel from the tray and wiped the lipstick off my lips. Maids have no use for makeup, do they, Jessie? Or should I say, Jenny? Are you trying to seduce my Jack? Stay away from him, else I'll make you pay for it. I leaned close to Lily's ear. Hate to break it to you, but Jack's the one who can't seem to stay away from me. Apparently, you aren't as attractive as a maid, huh? Furious, Lily knocked over the teacup, causing a few drops of hot water to splash onto my hand. Right at that moment, Jack passed by and rushed over to me. Are you okay? Let me look at that. I'm fine. Please go away. I don't want my mistress to misunderstand. Jack helped me up, then turned and gave Lily an opposing look. I didn't do anything. She's just faking it. Without letting her finish, he led me into his room. Gee, Lily sure looked mad about this. I honestly wasn't that hurt, but Jack still gently took care of me. He even softly blew on my hand to help relieve the pain. Can't deny that I was a little moved by his gestures. To be fair, he is handsome. It isn't a stretch that people call him the Adonis of showbiz. Suddenly, I noticed him meet my gaze. Oh no, had he noticed me staring at him? Why are you looking at me in that way? You're not even blinking. Then he leaned towards my face. Was he going to kiss me again? I quickly covered my mouth with my hand, and he just shook his head and laughed. What do you think I'm gonna do, huh? I leaped up and raced out of there. Whoa, my heart has never pounded so fast. I composed myself, then went downstairs to continue working. But, well, look who's here again. Surely Lily started to boss me around anew as soon as she saw my face. The night fell, the guests started to arrive, and so the party could finally get started. And while serving everyone drinks, I kept my ear open to catch all kinds of gossiping about the play. Meanwhile, Lily was practically glued to Jack's side. She clearly wanted everyone to think that they were an item. She waved me over, but as I neared her, I noticed her stick her foot out to trip me up. Okay, fine. If she wanted me to fall, then I'd fall. So I purposely fell and spilled red wine all over her beloved bespoke dress. She looked like she was going to internally explode, but I just apologized profusely as I helped her up. Lily got the hump, then went upstairs to change clothes. With her out of the way, Jack asked me if my hand was okay. Was he really worried about me? He gently held my hand to check, then even dusted off my clothes. I gave a shy smile and was about to thank him, but he had already turned away to greet Siren, this beautiful emerging actress. Unbelievable! As I watched him lead her over to the dance floor, I felt so foolish for ever believing a guy like him was capable of having sincere feelings. I angrily left when the housekeeper insisted I fetch more chairs for the guests. Ugh! Being a maid is really miserable. You don't even have time to be upset. As I hurried to the storage room, I saw Lily standing in front of the director's study room, looking sneaky. What was she doing? I cleared my throat, which startled her and caused her to drop her phone. Oh boy, When she spun around and saw me, she sure looked mad. She ordered me to carry her dress, but I told her that I had to finish the housekeeper's task first. "Be quick! Meet me by the pool!" Then she stormed off. Curious, I peeked through the gap into Lucas's office and saw Mrs. Sharma in there with him. Was Lily eavesdropping on them? After that, I had to carry the train of Lily's dress around the party. Indeed, a showy girl. But her plan to punish me wasn't working, as everyone seemed to pay more attention to me than to her. I even overheard some of them whisper that I was pretty, which made Lily screw her face up in annoyance. Then, when we were by the pool, she ordered me to fix her hair, but then she suddenly swung her hands out, which caused me to lose my balance. Panicked, I grabbed onto Lily's dress belt, and we both gave horrified looks as we fell head first into the pool. Lily intentionally pushed me for everyone to laugh at anyway, so fine, an eye for an eye. Seeing as Lily was like a buoyancy aid in that OTT dress, I pretended that I couldn't swim and clung to her, then pushed her head down several times. Suddenly, someone jumped into the pool and pulled me up. It was Jack. For someone who can't swim, you sure don't seem that freaked out, huh? Next time, try acting more realistic. Geez, Jack saw right through me. I shyly made an excuse to go change clothes and left. Thank goodness, that chaotic party was over. It was absolutely exhausting. Still, I couldn't stop thinking about Jack and how he always seemed to appear at the right moment. I suppose his actions really touched me. However, there's a chance that he was just using me to annoy Lily, right? She definitely wouldn't let me off this time. Speak of the devil. I forbid you from talking to Jack ever again. You've probably forgotten my warning. My dad's at home right now. Should I go talk to him? Do what you want, but I'm sure the press would love to see some unflattering photos of you. And do you remember how that one time you pretended to be sick in order to avoid participating in a charity program? You dare to sneakily take photos of me? You... It's you who went through my stuff first. I have no interest in Jack, but no way will I ever sit back and let you control me again. Okay, fine. As long as you don't hover around him, I'll leave you alone. My dad told you to bring him some tea into his working room, so better hurry up. Lucas wants to drink tea while working? Okay. I carried the tea tray upstairs and quickly hid in a room near his office. After a while, I saw Lily come up and put her ear close to the door, muttering, "Why hasn't Dad yelled at her yet? Is she flirting with him again? This fox!" Then she immediately flung the door open, thinking she's going to catch me red-handed. You see, I know that Lucas only drank coffee while working, and also he hated being disturbed. At this point, I slowly entered the room and saw him shouting at his beloved daughter. "I already said that no one could enter this room without my permission." I pretended not to understand what was going on at that time and hurriedly placed the tea tray on the table. "Sir, Mistress ordered me to bring you some tea." "Both of you get out! Now!" Lily glared at me angrily and walked out. It serves her right for trying to get me into trouble. It's crazy how fast time flies. The last day of casting was the next day already. I stayed up late to practice some more, when suddenly Lily burst in and tore up my script. "I forbid you to audition for this role. It'll be mine anyway. So just give up and save yourself the humiliation." Poof! What to do with this delusional girl? The next morning, I woke up early to get ready, but when I went to open my door, it wouldn't budge. Oh no, it was locked from the outside. Lily had to be behind this. I opened the window and peered down. It wasn't too high, so I tied my clothes together into a rope to climb down. But halfway down, a shirt suddenly ripped and I fell into someone's arms. I scrambled to my feet and turned to see Jack. He was rubbing his arm while frowning at me. "You love falling into my arms, don't you?" "I'm in a rush. I don't have time to argue with you." I grabbed my bag and was about to leave when an idea popped into my mind. Can you take me to the studio right away? Jack was a bit surprised at first, but he eventually agreed. I transformed while in the car. I took off my wig and brown contact lenses, put on some makeup, and voila! Beautiful Jenny was back. Jack couldn't help but gape at me in surprise. You... What's going on? But there was no time to explain. We'd already arrived at the studio. I hopped out of the car and hurried inside to audition. The director called my name at the exact moment I entered the set. I quickly regained my composure and stepped onto the stage where Mrs. Sharma was already waiting. I told myself I wouldn't let her frazzle me this time. As expected, she tried to throw me off by changing the situation and dialogue. But I took inspiration from my difficult times being Lily's maid and performed my heart out. When I finished, the whole film set started to applaud. Some of them even had teary eyes, which made me burst with happiness. After a while of discussion, the director stood up and was about to announce the results when Lily suddenly appeared. She turned on the projector and asked everyone to watch an important video. Is she trying to expose me right now? But, oh, it was a video of Mrs. Sharma talking to the director. Jenny Sinclair is my daughter. I only want the best for her. Please accept my request. Oh my gosh. So, the rumor about my mom being a famous actress is true. It was Mrs. Sharma who chose her career over me. I fell to my knees and looked at Mrs. Sharma, whose eyes were full of guilt. Everybody took out their phones to take pictures and videos. My ears were ringing hearing thousands of questions buzzing around. Suddenly, the light went out. In the dark, a hand pulled me out of the crowd. It was Jack. He put his jacket over me and then secretly took me to the car. Jack drove for an hour to a deserted beach. The two of us sat on the sand and stared out at the sea. Suddenly, Jack turned to face me and took my hand in his. If you've decided to become an actress, having to face the public backlash over a rumor, whether it's the truth or not, is unavoidable. No matter what everyone says, you just need to stay true to yourself and believe in the rightful things you did. I smiled slightly at Jack. It turned out that behind this scandalous bad boy image was actually a really brave guy who had been through a lot in this tough industry. Jack took me home after sunset, and as soon as I reached the front porch, I heard quarreling. So I slowly opened the door, kept my ear to the ground, and gently peeked into the living room. Oh my God, Mrs. Sharma is here? Why did you leave her for 18 years, then come back and mess things up like that? You know very well that I did no such thing. You're the one who prevented me from seeing her. I've always watched Jenny from afar. There's not a single photo of her that I don't keep. If you love her, why did you drag her into acting? You want her to have a suffocating life, always being watched by thousands of people, not having a single day of freedom like you? Meanwhile, I can provide her with a comfortable, pressure-free life. I don't want her to be an actress either. I was the one who asked the director not to give her the lead role. I also want her to have a peaceful life, so I've tried everything in my capability to make her fail the casting. Unbelievable. So that's the truth? Dad, why did you hide Mom away from me? Do you know how much it sucked not having a mom? Jenny, why are you here? Just hear me out. I don't want to hear anything. Jenny, let me explain. Miss Sharma, acting is my passion. You abandoned me to chase yours, but now you want to forbid mine? How ridiculous! Both of you keep saying you're doing what's best for me, but have you ever asked me how I feel? I hate you both! I ran to my room, slammed the door, then cried my eyes out until I fell asleep. When I woke up, I saw a bunch of notifications on my phone. Turns out Miss Sharma went live and publicized her side of the story. The article showed the room full of my pictures from baby to grown-up. She talked about how when she divorced my dad, even though she loved me dearly, she thought he'd be able to provide me with a better life, so she gave him full custody. So, it turns out I do have a famous actress mom, and she does love me. I guess it must have been hard for Mom, and she must have suffered a lot, too. Looking at the pictures of my childhood preserved by her, tears welled up in my eyes. At that moment, my maid rushed in.
Miss, congratulations! They picked you!
The maid showed me the phone screen. In front of me was an article titled, Jenny Sinclair chosen as the servant's leading lady. I rubbed my eyes in disbelief. This is real, right?
It's real, miss. Look, even your casting clip has reached millions of likes, and the comments are full of praise for your method acting.
Everyone supports you. I jumped up and hugged my maid, tears streaming down my face. Finally, I've achieved my dream. So, what now? Well, as you can see, I made it. This is the movie premiere. I'm here with my mom. She accompanied me on set and taught me a lot. Suddenly, a firm hand wrapped around my waist from behind. It was Jack. He's always playfully sweet like that. The three of us posed for photos and greeted our fans. The media these days keeps shipping me with Jack. They say we're a case of on-screen romance turning into real-life lovers. But, that's not quite right, seeing as we actually fell in love before filming even started. Oh, that person over there. Is that really my dad? Oh my, today is indeed the happiest day of my life. Having Dad's support for my passion like this means everything to me. I'm well on my way to becoming an excellent actress like my mom. Or, who knows, maybe even better. This was my first day at my new school, and so far, it was going pretty well. Can you believe the principal himself was giving me the guided tour, as well as showering me with praise? Amber, with your impressive grades and outstanding academic achievements, you'll fit in nicely here. This is Leo, my son. He's another excellent student here, and he's going to show you around. Leo looked at me from head to toe, then smiled and winked at me. Huh? Was he checking me out? And here's the library. Maybe we could study here together sometime. Sorry, but I prefer to study alone. Right at that moment, a guy walked past us to the librarian's desk. Oh my God! He totally had this whole cool bad boy look going on. I zoomed in to see what book he was holding. The Orion Mystery? Wow, nice taste. I've been really into ancient stuff these days too. Leo must have noticed me staring at that guy, as he snidely said, I'd steer clear of the likes of him if I was you. His grades are pathetic, and he's probably only in here so he can take a nap. He's below your league, while I'm far more suitable. Thanks for showing me around, but seeing your smug and scornful attitude towards others proves otherwise. Then I left, leaving a stunned-looking Leo behind. I found my class easily enough, even without Leo's help. And my desk, yeah, there was no missing that. I mean, the huge bouquet with my name on it and a welcome hamper full of candy was a dead giveaway. And apparently, it was from the principal. Whoa. I knew he was glad I was here, but wasn't this a bit too much? Anyway, I shared all the flowers and candies with my classmates to get to know them better. So far, so good. And these two sweet girls, Jane and Ellie, walked to the canteen with me and showed me how to get the lunch tray using my student QR code. But then they pointed over to a group of students sitting next to the window and told me to go sit with them. Huh? Why can't I sit with you?
You're not one of us.
Then they went and joined another group. What did they mean by that? I looked around and noticed there were two menus, a delicious-looking one on the red board and a bland one on a blue board. It seemed the boards correlated to the trays, as more kids than not had the blue trays with the dull foods. I took my red tray full of tasty food and walked over to the window, where all the kids were sitting with red trays, including Leo. There's something really strange about this school. I was pretty awkward and didn't know what to do when I saw the Orion Mystery Boy walking in with a blue tray. So, without thinking, I approached him. I saw you this morning in the library. You were checking out my favorite book. So, should I return the book or what? No, I just want to make friends. Stop hanging out with this loser. A straight-A student like you should sit with us. We're different. See? This was so stupid. So I told Leo I didn't need colored trays to tell me who I could and couldn't talk to, and that I was fully capable of making my own mind up. Leo and his friends looked furious, while the Orion mystery boy just grinned. Suddenly, a girl in the group spoke up with a super cold tone. Don't worry, Leo. This new girl will soon figure out what losers they are. Then she signaled for the whole group to leave. After that, the Orion mystery boy and I started talking, and he finally told me his name. It's John. The blue tray kids were really nice. Way nicer than the red tray ones. I asked John what the deal with the trays was, and he said that this school divided its students into two groups. The red were top achievers, and therefore got better food, cleaner spaces at the canteen, just everything. While the blues were made to eat bland food and squashed into the corner of the canteen. Poof! This whole thing was dumb. So I continued hanging out with John and his friends. Only Leo and that girl he was with, Quinn, didn't approve. Turns out she's the best student around here, and that made her the leader of the Reds. On many occasions, Quinn and her minions had pulled me aside after class to tell me I should stay away from the blues. But I didn't care. Then one day, the school announced that it was looking for the next school president. I wasn't that interested in it, but my friends were eager for me to sign up. If you're president, then you could make things fairer around here. Right. Better food, better tables and chairs. Please, we need you. Well, they did have a point. I really wanted them to have better things. And I suppose being school president would look good on my profile. So I signed up. But wow, I didn't think I'd be this popular. My friends completely supported me, made colorful banners, and helped me come up with catchy slogans. And you know what? In the end, I got to the final round. Whoop! Now all I had to do was beat Quinn. But then something awful happened at the school. I arrived to find a bunch of students gathered around something. I squeezed through the crowd and... oh my God. The principal's beloved portrait was covered in red paint. Then across the loudspeakers, two names were called to the principal's office. John's and mine. Do you two know why I've summoned you here? John and I shared confused looks. No, huh? My portrait has been vandalized, and I know that Amber, you were the last one who passed the security guard yesterday. And John, you were caught on CCTV climbing over the back gate. Can you both please explain what you were doing so late at school? I couldn't find my math book, and I have an important math test coming up. So I came back to try and find it. And what about you, John? I knew it. An exemplary student such as Amber would never do such a thing. But a troublemaker like you, on the other hand, you're expelled. I didn't do it. Please reconsider, sir. Please give me some time so I can find the one who's responsible. Very well. Seeing as it's you, Amber, I shall allow you 1 week to prove this boy's innocence. Ahem, or his guilt. When we left the office, I asked John why he was sneaking about the school late at night, but he got all defensive. I had a thing, and it's none of your business. If you want to believe it was me, then do. Didn't you see what I just did? I defended you. Can't you just tell me? I had a thing, okay? My thing that you don't need to know. Then he left. I stood there feeling confused when Quinn, Leo, and their group walked towards me. Don't waste your time with him. Sooner or later he's gonna be expelled. Right, Quinn? But Quinn ignored him, then gave me a dagger look. I'm gonna say this one last time. Stay away from him. Then they all left. Why was Leo so sure that John would be expelled? I know they all hated John, especially Quinn. Could it be that they framed him? Well, there's only one way to find out. I needed to keep a close eye on Quinn and see what she was up to. So after school, I followed Quinn all the way to the harbor. It's like she was waiting for someone. What on earth are you doing? My God, I had to press my hands over my mouth so I didn't start screaming. Turns out he noticed that I was following Quinn, so he followed me too in case I do something stupid. Suddenly, Quinn took her phone out to call someone. But then a strange thing happened. John's phone started vibrating. Why is Quinn calling you? John took his phone out and showed me the screen. It's just my mom. And when I turned around to see what Quinn was doing, she'd gone. Ugh, I lost her. I've been following Quinn for a whole week, but it's led to nothing. I was so deep in my thoughts that I accidentally dropped someone's backpack and all their stuff fell out. Ugh, it's Quinn's. Better pick everything up before she comes back. But then I saw something that caught my attention. It was a receipt for red paint. Jackpot. I knew it was her. John was skipping classes today, so I took a detour to his house after school to tell him. Huh? Why was Quinn standing outside his door? There was something seriously fishy going on here, so I followed them. They stopped at an abandoned house nearby, and I eavesdropped on their conversation. I think Amber knows something. Last time, we were lucky she didn't catch us dating at the harbor. But this time, what if she finds out? I've been working so hard for this school president campaign. I knew she'd go back for her math book. It would have been fine if the school didn't have that new camera at the back gate. Tomorrow I will confess to the principal that I did it. You didn't do it yourself anyway. Oh God, I couldn't believe it. Turns out Quinn was meeting John at the harbor, so when she called someone, it was actually him. But being an expert at this secret dating game, he had her number saved as Mom. They were hiding their relationship this whole time. And worse, they tried framing me so Quinn would win the election. Unbelievable! I couldn't stay quiet any longer, so I stepped out in front of them, told them I'd heard everything and that I was going to tell the principal. Then I ran off without letting them say a word. The next day, I was en route to the principal's office when I passed Quinn tearing down her election posters on the wall. Why are you doing that? It's okay. I know I don't deserve to be school president. I thought you wanted to be president more than anything in the world. Why else would you play dirty tricks on me? So, Quinn explained to me that she was running for school president to eliminate the discrimination here, so that she didn't have to hide her relationship with John any longer. Oh, wow. I didn't know. I didn't expect her to have such a meaningful motive behind all this. My plan was just to fight for better things for the Blues team. But man, Quinn had a vision to change this whole school. Impressive. And there's one more thing. Since you're the principal's favorite student, we were afraid that if you become school president, despite your best efforts, things here would only get worse. So there was no other way for us. We had to. I'm sorry. It seems like I misjudged Quinn, and I didn't want John to get expelled, so I said that I'd take the blame for the portrait incident. But it's all my fault. You don't need to do that. No worries. I'm sure to ace the math test and win a prize for the school, so there's no way he's gonna punish me. So at recess, I was heading to the principal's office, but before I could get there, I found myself being dragged into the janitor's closet. Oh, it was John. He was feeling guilty and didn't want me to take the fall. I was about to reply to him when I heard two familiar voices in the science room next to us. It was Quinn and Leo. Oh my God, we could hear them clearly through the ventilation hole. I can't believe it worked. Amber is such a fool. There's no way she'll be allowed to run for president and victory will be mine. So, are you really going to remove the division between the two groups just to freely date your stupid boyfriend in public? Are you fooled by that too? Of course I won't. No way. That was only to trick Amber and John. What I'm gonna do is make sure all troublemakers are gonna be kicked out of school. What? I got played? Again? Ugh! I turned to John and, oh man, he looked disappointed. Don't worry, I know a way to get back at them. On election day, Quinn gave her speech, and unsurprisingly, she went on about how the red group brings more to the school and therefore deserves their privileges. She really believes she could make a fool out of this Amber, huh? When I stepped out on the stage, her jaw dropped. Yeah, Quinn, I didn't confess to the principal. Giving speeches in front of a crowd wasn't something new to me, so I was super confident. I'm sure you're all aware of how this school operates. We're divided into 2 groups and get treated very differently. What I see here is discrimination and prejudice, when in reality, this should be a safe place for all students to strive and reach their full potential. So, I'm standing here today to tell you that if you choose me to be your next school president, I will break the barrier. Let's say goodbye to red and blue trays and hello to fairness and equality. After my speech ended, the crowd went wild. Wow! And surprisingly, some of the red group were cheering me too. You're probably wondering why I didn't expose Quinn in front of the whole school, right? As I see it, she'd had a massive reality check, so I think that was enough. I also spotted the principal quietly sneaking off with his head down, in the midst of cheers the whole school gave me. Could you guess who won? Yeah, me of course. John came on stage and handed me flowers in front of a furious-looking Quinn. I walked towards her and whispered, "Let's see how you're gonna get rid of the troublemakers now." She just sneered at me, then stormed off the stage. Later, we heard that Quinn confessed all to the principal. Then she transferred to another school. What about me? Well, after I became school president, I stuck to my promise and began making some serious changes to the unfairness of the school. And John, did we become a couple, you ask? Oh no, we're just close friends. I was completely immersed in this beautiful harmony that me and my dad were playing until, "What on earth are you two doing?" Startled, I turned around to see Siren standing there with fiery eyes. Oh God. I came back to my senses at once and realized that next to me, the man I was jamming with was not my dad, but Isaac, her boyfriend. Oh no, what had I done? I quickly wiped my tears away and was about to leave. But Isaac took my hand and gave me this confused look. Being back here in this house was difficult enough without getting involved in this love triangle, so I tried to pull my hand free and ran out of there. Yes, it's me again, Hazel. In the last part of my story, my friends embroiled me into helping their idol Isaac and his actress girlfriend Siren escape from the public eye for a bit. Now I'm stuck in my family's old home and having to confront my past. All these memories flooded my mind. Some good, some bad. And before I knew it, I was mixing the past with reality. And that's how I accidentally played the piano with Isaac and made Siren green with envy. At that moment, Siren swung open the door and charged toward me. "Hey, don't let me catch you flirting with my BF again!" Excuse me? What did you say? He's not even my type. Besides, having you as a love rival sounds like way more hassle than it's worth. She gave me this lingering scowl. Clearly she was furious with me, but she must have decided there was nothing else she could say on this matter. However, this didn't stop her from being the most demanding, frustrating diva on the planet. She stuck her nose up at the food and drinks we served her and insisted that she couldn't possibly consume anything that wasn't organic. She threw the clothes that we lent her down the stairs because, quote, those vulgar outfits didn't suit her. Then she asked Ivy to go get her designer ones. Once, Zoe even had to drive over an hour to the mall just for a few scented candles. Why, you ask? Well, Siren accused me of exuding this bad energy that had been affecting her sleep and her well-being, so she needed to cleanse the aura around here. Poof! This was nonsense. Once her head touched the pillow, she slept like a log. It seems that living in the same house as their idol and his girlfriend wasn't exactly all it's cracked up to be. Isn't that right, Ivy and Zoe? However, contrary to Siren the Nightmare, Isaac surprised me quite a lot, by actually being a great help around the house. He was an excellent cook and a dab hand at fixing things. Okay, I admit that I used to think he was just one of those useless celebs out there, but it seems he had no problem with pulling his weight. Anyway, this manner of his did somewhat make up for the obnoxious attitude of his girlfriend, which made this whole thing a bit more bearable. Until this one time, we were rowing on the river near the mansion. Well, I was rowing, to be exact. Just me, as what could we expect from our two superstars? But it's pretty out here, isn't it? It was Siren's bright idea, as she wanted some new Insta photos. You're probably wondering where Zoe and Ivy are? Yep, they're scouring the shops a few towns over for ethical foie gras. Look at her, saying she's feeling sick she couldn't row. But apparently she was well enough to smile for the camera and strike dozens of different poses. Suddenly, Siren decided to stand up to get better lighting, which made the whole boat shake. I shouted at her to sit down, but then before I properly knew what was going on, the boat was turning sideways and I tumbled into the water. I flailed my arms and legs out and tried my best to raise my head above the water, but it was no use. I couldn't stop myself from sinking beneath it. I honestly believed this was it. The world started to darken around me, when suddenly, an arm grabbed me and pulled me ashore. Hazel, can you hear me? I slowly opened my eyes and saw Isaac's worried face peering down at me. Hazel, thank goodness. He gently helped me sit up, then asked me if I was all right. For a few fleeting moments, the warmth from his body made me flush. Clearly, nearly drowning had made me delirious. I mean, I couldn't have feelings for him. Could I? Before I could ponder on this thought any more, a drenched Siren dripped her way over to us. Isaac, why did you rescue her instead of me? Siren, this is not the time for being dramatic. I was hardly going to come to you, an expert swimmer, over Hazel who was actually drowning. Hearing Isaac say that, she rolled her eyes, then stormed off, leaving a wet footprint trail in her wake. The last thing we needed in the house was more tension, so I immediately turned to him and said I was fine, and he should go and sort things out with his girlfriend. Listen, Hazel, Siren's not my girlfriend. I don't like her in that way, but as for you and me, we clearly have a connection. I stared at him in complete open-mouthed shock. Did he really just say that? Or perhaps I had a concussion and was imagining things. Siren's like my little sister. I'll explain this later, but first you need to rest. Then he wrapped his arms around me and guided me back to the house. I spent the rest of that day in bed feeling feverish. Then at dawn the next morning, I awoke to a commotion coming from downstairs. Guys? What's all the noise about?
It's Isaac and Siren. They've gone, and they've taken the car.
What? That was our only mode of transport out of here. How could they be so selfish to just abandon us here like this? We tried contacting Isaac countless times, but no answer. Great. Here we are now in this remote area where it would take hours to even find a passerby to hitchhike, not to mention how risky it'd be. Everything was a mess. We were panicking when suddenly the door burst open and walked in a smiling, arm-linked Isaac and Siren. Where have you been? You can't just leave like that without telling us. Oh, Ivy lent us the car. Didn't she say anything? Both Zoe and I turned our gazes on Ivy. She stammered. But I think you guys just went out for a while, not disappeared all night unreachable. Relax. All this tension will give you wrinkles. Then Siren smirked at me as she flicked back her hair and then continued. We went to a drive-in cinema and it was so romantic. We didn't want the evening to end, so we strolled around town until the early hours. What did she mean by that? So much for him seeing her as a sister. I felt like such a fool for believing his lies. We altered our entire plans to help you both hide from society, and this is how you thank us? By pulling a stunt like this? No more. Get out of here! Right now! Before anyone could say anything, my phone buzzed. It was my friend Erica. She asked me if the stories about me being in love with Isaac were true. Huh? What was she on about? In my panic, I ended the call and went online to check it out. Turns out on the Instagram account of the store where I customized our matching hoodies, the shop owner had posted a photo of me wearing it. Naturally, it didn't take the fan maniacs long to do their research and find out all about me. But worse still, another current trending post was one from Isaac's management company, confirming that we were officially dating. What kind of nonsense is this? I immediately told Isaac to call his company and put it on speaker. Isaac, we hit a jackpot! You probably know the iconic pianist and composer Edward Moretz, right? Hazel Moretz is his daughter! You mean... Everyone gasped at me in shock. Maybe it's time for me to reveal the secrets of my past, the truth that's been hidden for so long. Yes, Edward Moretz is my father, but I made a promise to myself 10 years ago that I would never speak to him again. Isaac's manager continued to brazenly talk about how the scandal with me would benefit Isaac's career, so there was no need to hide it. At that moment, Siren shouted, "What on earth are you saying?" Hey, are you with Siren again? I already told you not to mess with that girl unless you want to get yourself in trouble. Shut up! Siren furiously grabbed Isaac's phone and ended the call.
Isaac, tell everyone that the one you love is me, not her.
Siren, we were never in love. You're going too far.
What? You guys aren't dating? So we misunderstood it all from the beginning? I knew right away there was something wrong. Yet you pretended to be his real girlfriend and treated us like your minions.
Siren stood there with a red face, fists clenched.
I gave you my heart, but all you do is hurt me. This time you've made a big mistake, Isaac. Just wait and see.
Siren left for her room, but this time neither of us stopped her or comforted her. The next morning, we found out that Siren was gone. None of us knew where she was. We all just hoped that she wasn't so fueled with anger that she'd cause us even more problems. We quickly packed our things into the car, preparing to return to our normal life. When out of nowhere, a bunch of reporters and journalists appeared and surrounded us. Isaac, Miss Siren Wilde has accused Ms. Moretz of wrecking your relationship. Is this true? Does that mean you ran away from all the shows to go on a secret date with Ms. Moretz?
Ms. Moretz, your father was known for breaking not only yours but also another family apart, all for his own selfish needs. Are you following in his footsteps?
Scary flashlights were everywhere. Suddenly I found myself transported back to that terrible day 10 years ago when Dad's affair went public, and the reporters hounded us in this exact same spot. Those heartless flashlights are just as intense now as they were back then. A memory of my mom's distraught face popped into my mind. Puffy eyes, tear-stained cheeks, a fearful look. Yet the reporters were relentless vultures, firing questions at her regardless of her vulnerable state. That's the day I made a promise to myself that not only would I never pursue music, but I'd also never forgive my father. Amid the panic, an arm pulled me into the car, and we drove away from the crowd. It was Isaac. He put on some piano music to help calm me down, and he continued driving, eventually stopping at a small grocery store. Hazel, please drink this. Sorry for dragging you into all this. The thing is, I've been unhappy with my management company for a while now. They won't let me make the music I want to, but I didn't expect them to go as low as forcing me into their web of lies just for fame. I know how you feel. I used to long to become a pianist like my dad, but then he crushed my dreams. To further his career, he cheated on my mom with another married woman and left our family behind. I grew to hate the complex world of artists. I vowed to never become one of them. And then I gradually began to despise the sound of the piano, too. I'm sorry to hear that story. But art isn't to blame. It reflects lies genuinely, doesn't it? I heard your piano melodies and you are truly gifted. Be honest with your feelings and don't let anyone else interfere with them. Trying to deny your own passion and emotions will only make you miserable. Isaac's right. I'd let my dad's mistakes alter the pathway to my dreams. Not making music made me miserable. It felt like there was a part of me missing, one that nothing else could fill. Why should I be the one to suffer like this, when it hadn't even been me that done anything wrong? Look at me now. Can you believe it? I've rekindled my passion for piano, and now I'm happier than ever. After all that runway pop star drama, Isaac left his management company and collaborated with me to make music for True Art. This is our latest charity event. It's pretty neat, huh? That's all thanks to Zoe and Ivy. They work for us now. They're in charge of arranging our busy schedules and organizing our events. The four of us make the best team. I guess you're wondering what happened to Siren? Last I heard, she set her sights on her latest movie co-star. Wish her good luck is all I can say. As for Isaac and me, well, since the media claimed that we were a couple, we might as well have turned that fake news into reality.